Yes, let's give Mugdha Sinha a very, very warm round of applause. She's Director General of Tourism, Government of India, the real nuts and bolts person that deals with all executive policies that the Government of India takes and has it implemented. Before we begin, let's give a really warm round of applause for the four speakers that were there before. Brilliant. I mean, so immersive, so relevant, and brings out everything that we need to do and also support in tourism. Mugdha, you have a fascinating background. Culture has been also part of yours, and this is also, Minister this morning spoke on tourism and outlined some of the big things that the government has done, also talked of the budget. But let's look at some of the challenges that we face. And one of them is the fact that while we have a fantastic revival in terms of domestic tourism, and we talked of 2.5 billion tourists that came last year, and if you really now take what happened in Kumbh Melas, what the minister reminded us, that we have something like 60 crore people land up there. So probably set a world record in terms of domestic tourism. But when you look at foreign tourism, we have recovered close to 10 million come down over here. But the fact is that we are underperforming. Now, what is the challenge in terms of meeting these two markets? Because the domestic tourists might have a limited sort of agenda in terms of spiritual tourism, but the foreign tourists might want to see other things as well. So there is a dichotomy in the way you need to organize yourself. What are the challenges the country faces in that, and what's the government doing about it?
Yeah. Thank you, Raj, and a very good afternoon to everyone. I'm really delighted to be here at the India Today Travel and Tourism Summit Conclave. I think that's a very provocative question, but not an unpredictable question, if I can say, because this is the first question that I get to hear from all the events that I attend. This comparison between why is inbound or FITs important for India is a no-brainer for me, because when you talk of an aspirational India led by the leadership which is putting its skin in the game, with the first Indian becoming the first incredible Indian and our brand ambassador for the country abroad. When he travels to a certain destination, that destination picks up as a tourist destination. With those kind of things, third largest economy, 3.9 trillion today, aspiring to be a 5 trillion in the next 5 years, wanting to be a 25-30 trillion dollar economy by 2047, which is the vision of the Amrit Kaal. India today has the third largest ecosystem for startups in the world, and we know today that the travel and tourism decisions are made by the millennials, which are all tech-based. So tech-based and data-driven insights are what is driving travel and tourism in the country, and India has those capacities. Of course, if you also look at the SDG goals, you will find that India in the last 10 years has uplifted 240 million people from multi-dimensional poverty, which basically means that more and more people have disposable incomes to travel. If you look at the figures, you've mentioned the inbound, I'm not repeating them, but if you look at the outbound, you will find in the last 1 year, we've moved up from 27 million people going abroad to about 33 this last year ending December 2024, which basically means that people are traveling. If you look at the numbers of the people which have crisscrossed the globe last year, it is about 1,300 million, which is global crisscrossing. And if you look at the numbers within the country, you will find that they are double the numbers of the global numbers, which is 2,300 million people have crisscrossed all across India. With those kinds of aspiration and the ecosystem, in the last 10 years, we've doubled our travel infrastructure from 74 airports. Currently, we have about 167, of which 45 are international airports. And we've also connected our tier 3 cities for detour or destination dupe travel aspirations of the people. If you look at the road connectivity has improved. We have large number of tunnels. We have about 18 cable cars which are coming, which is for more the pilgrim tourist and remote destinations. We have at least 10 major ports getting green infrastructure for sustainable tourism, for cruise tourism. we have about 2 of those getting converted for yachting, which yachting is very popular in European and American countries. So India is also so aspirational. How is it that we will not want more foreigners to come to India? Because the numbers should match the aspiration we have. Aspiration in terms of the common person. If you also look at the demographic dividend, everybody knows this, but one important factor that you don't know here is that while 65% of our population is below 35, whereas everybody else in the Western world is inching towards a geriatric population, India is still young. Also because if you look at the budget announcements, youth, women, and local community is driving today our infrastructure in terms of homestay, our tourism itineraries, and increasingly, most states' budgets, because the budgets have been announced recently, you will find phenomenal stress on entrepreneurship. One last thing, who is making the travel decisions in the country and in the globe as a whole? Anybody born between 1983 and 1997, which is the millennials, which are the people who hustle, also want to travel. In my generation, our parents used to take us for summer holidays or winter holidays. Today, people are taking a break after every 2 or 3 months. The whole concept of travel is changing, and it is these people who are born in this generation called the millennials. And we are making policy not just for the millennials, we are also making policy for the zennials. The alpha and the beta have been born. The beta started birthing themselves from February of this year. So we have to also look at the intergenerational perspective of people who are making those travel decisions, and increasingly their idea of travel is very different. And just like in the income tax once upon a time, you had what is called the haves and the have-nots. Today in the travel and tourism, you have something called the FOMOs and the JOMOs. The FOMOs are people like me who have the fear of missing out, so I travel everywhere where I can. And then there are the JOMOs like my mother who would like to, the joy of missing out and probably do a spiritual retreat once in a while, or do hashtag sleep tourism or slow tourism. So I think the ecosystem is changing, how people are making decisions are changing. And because we aspire to be a certain country, we also have influence.
Right.
India is not just aspirational in the purely economic sense. We are also aspirational in the kind of influence that we wield in the global geopolitics today. And if we have both of these, we have the techies, we have populated the Silicon Valleys of the world, the whole tech that the globe is using is all driven by Indians. We have a huge Indian diaspora. Why will we not want many more people to come to India? And increasingly, 21st June this year, 10 years of UN celebrating International Yoga Day. Last year, 21st of December, 6 years apart, 6 months apart, India again got to seed into the UN what is called the UN International Day of Meditation. Increasingly, after COVID, the pandemic, also these mental health, anxieties, issues, etc., people are increasingly looking to the Indian, Ayush systems, the traditional knowledge systems, and recreation and rejuvenative kind of travel, the slow travel. So I think we must encash on the bouquet of natural, cultural resources, the assets that we have, because tourism, pillion rides and all this, and we should all say that while the hotel industry has made good money in the last 2 years, they've had many more IPOs come out. Mr. Amarnath is here, he will vouch for it. Many more new rooms are getting added. The per occupancy has increased. The average per rate of a room night has increased. But I think still there is scope for having long spenders, long stayers come to India, because there is also the whole concept of tourism contributing to the GDP of the country. Right now, it's about anywhere between 8 to 12%. And also, more than anything else, forget the forex, because after GST, contributions, we are not really looking at tourism and textiles from the forex point of view. But I can tell you for sure, tourism has a transformational impact in generating employment and solving the employment problem of the country. And one last thing I'll say, that we today live in a creative economy. The creative economy has a very different kind of a work culture than what we had, and I think tourism is at the epicenter of this cultural, creative cultural economy. We are not today talking of the four factors of classical economics, the land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. We are today talking of ideas, assets, revenues, and royalty. So that, I think, is what is driving tourism today, and we must encash, because we also want the younger people to know what India is all about. And today, with all that influence that we have, with all the capacities and capabilities that we have, both the willingness and ability that we have, we must be able to pull people like a magnet. And we should not shy away from saying that we also want FITs, we also want inbound, and that remains the focus of the work that we do in the ministry today.
A brilliant sweep of what y'all are doing, and the need for it, the fact that we have a bouquet of attractions that should get the best in the world, not just in India, to come there. And that's where I think the dichotomy is beginning to happen. In some senses, we need to sort that out, is the fact that we would have about 9 to 10 million foreign tourists coming. 9.5, right? Thailand has 27 million. A small country, probably beaches which dominate. The fact is we have everything across that. Spain has 80 million, right? Germany is around that number. And the fact, I mean, without discounting the domestic tourists, they do bring a lot of funds in. The average expenses of foreign tourists is expected to make, or the average that we've seen is about 2.5 to 3 lakh, which is a lot of money when you take a look at the foreign exchange. We had mentioned a figure of $28 billion. That 33 years, yes. 2023 is 28 and 33. That's a good jump that's happened. So what do we need to do? Particularly a lot of these is with regard to the state. There's so much to showcase. Why aren't those tourists coming that they should? What should the states do? Because the central can do a lot of policy, but unfortunately the best laid plans of the central government need not be implemented in the way you all have thought about it. How can you change that and make sure the states are able to up their act and get the kind of tourists they should be getting?
Yeah, I think that's a very relevant question again, because we have to realize that we need to work more strategically, given the limitations that we have. And of course, there are challenges, I would not deny. But we work, and I see some of the states who are here. The states are our collaborators. Just as the private sector, the OTAs, the hospitality sector, all the people who work, the local communities, everybody is a collaborator, because we have a very, if I can just name and say, the model that we operate on is a very different kind of a model, unlike any other ministry for that matter. We are the only ministry which owns nothing and sells everything. It's pretty much like an Amazon or a Flipkart or a ONDC kind of a model, because the cultural assets belong to the culture ministry, the performative also belong to them or to the states, the destinations belong to the states, the destinations are looked after by the state. All the things that generate a certain sentiment or a perception or an image also happen on land that belongs to the state. So whether it's hygiene, whether it's cleanliness, whether it's sanitation, whether it's safety, etc. So we don't own anything. When you look at the infrastructure, the hotels, of course, are mostly privately owned. We look at the infrastructure, civil aviation, shipping, railways, etc. We own nothing. So the thing that we need to do, we have 3 tools, and these 3 tools are very important to increase India's visibility in the market. But the game of how you do that has changed, because the ecosystem, the template has changed. There are new audiences who are making decisions that have changed. They think differently. So the 3 tools is marketing, but in a different manner. Today, while we were doing physical and linear and digital marketing a couple of years back, today we need to invest in emotional, anamorphic, quantum marketing. So those of you who understand physics understand that observation can change how the particles react. So quantum marketing becomes very, very important today. And these are expensive pieces, and we need to understand how marketing is done to be able to pick up the right product. So after marketing, I think data. Data is extremely important, big data, and I think that is where we incentivize the states to carry on what is called market research. Because if you want to get inbound into the country, you must know how people travel from different countries. We have about 195 countries and about another couple of 50 countries, which are the small island nations. So about 295 countries is what we have in the world today who are traveling. Each one of them wants a different pie of the country. So data insights of how people are traveling so that we can give them personalized, tailor-made options, bespoke itineraries. Those become very, very important. And it's here where the states and the tour operators have to come together. We have to peep into what are the tour itineraries that you're offering. Are people coming from X country in a charter? So where do we take the charter? Do we have enough Mercedes and BMWs and high luxury cars with taxi number plates to be able to offer to the... So there are nuanced issues and there are macro issues. Then also the fact is how are we using technology? Are we optimizing the technological products that are available today? Everybody is talking of Gen AI, the large language module for language translation, etc. I'll give you one. Because everything else is common, I'll give you just one, which is called the Gaussian slate. I've also been Secretary Science and Tech, so I'll use things which are still not there, and sometimes I find that the vocabulary that I speak also needs to be understood, because that can be a game changer. So look at what a Gaussian slate can do for technology, for all of you. We've talked of immersive, AR, VR, mixed VR, all that. But you know, India is very, very blessed to have 6 seasons. We have spring, summer, monsoon, autumn, winter, etc., pre and post, whatever. And the Gaussian slate technology actually enables you to see a destination of how the destination will look in all these 6 seasons. So you can make a choice whether you want to visit this destination. Say, for example, I'll give you an example of Srinagar, right? Do you want to go to Gulmarg when it's the peak of winters and see how it looks? Or do you want to go to Srinagar in the tulip season or the almond blossom season? That Gaussian slate will enable you to see the destination sitting here as a tourist and decide whether you want to undertake a summer travel to Srinagar or you want to take a winter travel to Srinagar. And I think nobody is talking about this technology today. We are all talking of AI, the lounge buddy, the Hilton, the concierge services. We also forget, sometimes when a technology reaches a certain scale and replicability. For example, very small things, luggage tracking. A traveler can have a nightmare if your luggage doesn't reach. I've had it only once in my life for an official meeting where I had to re-drape my sari and wear it for a meeting, and then the luggage came. But I know it can be a nightmare. But today you have luggage tracks. You have inbuilt sensors which tell you exactly where your luggage, which airport your luggage is lying. You have so many, products today. The IoT, we are not only talking, we are just talking of the Gen AI for language translation, etc. But if you also, dynamic pricing, by the way, the dynamic pricing model today runs on algorithm. In fact, our whole lives run on algorithms. The behavioral nudge that Richard Thaler talked about, today the algorithms are doing that for you. They're based on your history. They're telling you where you need to travel, what you need to eat. Today, Map My India. They actually have what you call immersive models of all the monuments inbuilt. API sharing today enables you to do public-private partnerships, not on paper, but on tech. There's so much that can be done today, and I think we are only at the very, very, cusp of beginning to make this change. And I think with the commercialization of the Internet of Things, your machines will be connected, your fridges will get uploaded with whatever is your favorite item. If you travel in a particular, if you have birthdays, for example, the IoT will book wherever you had wanted to go. And I'm given to understand, if you see a few TED Talks, you will see that all hardware will disappear. If you think of something, that IoT will actually, telepathically, he'll become a telepathic companion like Carl Ung, and he will book your travel. So this is the age that we are on the periphery of today. And increasingly, I think we will have to up our antennae in marketing, the new generation quantum marketing in using data insights to travel and look at the trends. And this is an elephant because, we will have to have the nimbleness of the mountain goat to be able to quickly review and change. If this doesn't work, can we do this? And I think because we live in an age of startup where failure, and also AI. So you know what? Kabir actually spoke of AI according to me, and I won't allow you to criticize me for saying that, for the simple reason, he said something in one of the shlokas, karat karat abhyas, jadmat hoye sujan. And what is AI all about? Iteration. So if you keep doing the same thing and you fail, and you go back to it again and redo it, review it, that is an iteration. Today, AI is thriving on iteration, and we in the policy should also use that tech iteration and keep improving the way we do business of travel and tourism. I think if we are able to understand that the elephant need not stay there for a year, we have to make short-term decisions. If till yesterday, slow tourism was a trending hashtag, tranquil tourism was a trending hashtag. Today, it is sleep tourism, and tomorrow I'm given to understand it will be digital nomadism. So we should be in a position to have incentives and to be able to, take very quick decisions in touch with the times, in touch with the people who are making these decisions. And that is where I think the policy makers have to move from policy to SOPs to actionable points. If we can do that, and this is the states, because states are our collaborators, if we can do that, I think we can avoid the steep learning curve, and we can get into the running treadmill and do what is required for travel and tourism, and which is what we are trying to do right now.
Excellent. Again, a brilliant overseeing the entire needs of ours. And coming to the last, I like the way you brought technology in a big way into this. And if you take a look at technology as an enabler, and we've got about 3-4 minutes left, you can actually track where your hotels, you don't have adequate rooms. Where are things that are not functioning as they should? Where are security issues that are there? Toilets which should be there in terms of cleanliness. We had the previous speaker talk of that. What is your, can we enable technology so we're able to estimate respective states, and what can the center do to incentivize, say, the medium scale industry is the largest benefactor of tourism. How can we change that and give them the incentives to set up hotels, to make the, meet the demand that's there? What can we do on that front, and how are you trying to change that in the ministry?
So while, everybody's focus is on the big monies in terms of setting up destinations, detour, alternate destinations, I will give you a formula which I think works on how people travel and what we can do what we are doing and what we can do, and what states and the industry needs to offtake from us. So my formula is a triangulation of the 3 A's. So it is like that everybody has a bucket list of travel, which is A for attractions. Then once you have the attraction as part of your wish list, you have what is called accommodations, which is the second A of travel. And then the third A of travel is accessibility. And if the states, as part of destination development and destination management, can get amenities on all of these 3 A's, and amenities also mean travel help desk, technology, based on data insights, everything, then I think this triangle will become a square, right? And that is what we need to do. I'll give you an example. While we have 5 different schemes, the Swadesh Darshan, which looks at all your destination development, big ticket items. Then we have the Prasad, which looks at the pilgrim travel in the country, which is like everybody wanting to take a spiritual retreat for regenerative, or for that matter, even your eco trails and your Ayurvedic treatments that go there. Then you also have what is called your special assistance to the states, which is again big ticket items, 100 crore projects that we give for anything where there is a viability gap that they need to fulfill in terms of infrastructure, connectivity, anything. And then you also have assistance that we give under the challenge-based and to the central institutions like ASI, universities, anything. Now, what we need to do is that we in the budget have also announced that we will, under the modified URAN, look at 120 remote locations which are not connected to international domestic or domestic international flights. With the 18 ASEAN countries, we have ASAs, which are the air service agreements under the open sky. So with Indonesia and Malaysia, I'm given to understand there are about 21,000 and 14,500 seats which are available for the to and fro movement. We can open this very much, and we know that two of our air companies, Air India and Indigo, have already ordered about 1,000 plus, 900 plus wide-bodied aircrafts, which means that movement from the long-haul destinations, US, Latin America, Africa, Japan, Northeast, Australia, these will improve and get enhanced in the years to come. Today we have about 116 air service agreements, which means that we can service all these without having to code share on our Indian Airlines wide-bodied aircrafts. So that is one. The second very important thing, which is that in the budget that has been announced, that of these destinations that we have today in the country, 50 of these destinations, because the hospitality industry has been given the status of the infrastructure, so they can choose, and we are helping arrive at those 50 destinations where the hotels have to come up, and the hotels there will be given the infrastructure industry status, which basically means that you will be enabled to take long-term loans, keeping your break-even and the ROI, and your EMIs will get, because this is a very labor-intensive. For one luxury room, you have to employ 3 employees. If you go to a 7-star, probably that number will increase. Huge amount of potential, but when you say labor-intensive, it is also equally capital-intensive. And I think we've got that ability to get the hotels' infrastructure right, because the supply chain was lacking in this. So 2 of those things. But coming to very small items, where the offtakes from the state needs to go up is one that we are not really using the money that is available with us. We give states anywhere between 50 lakhs and 1 crore to do what is called market research. Oh. So if Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, these bigger states are the ones that are the recipients of large number of foreign tourists, you should be interested in studying where my foreign tourists are coming from today. Goa, the whole landscape has changed. You give you an example because Goa has been in the news. Today, about 2,500 rooms are being added in Goa in one city alone. And if I do a comparison with Delhi, only 400. And Delhi is the port of disembarkation from all over the world. Why is that happening today? Because in Goa, you are getting huge amount of charter flights which are going. 25 charter flights by one tour operator in Delhi from Russia alone, which has landed in Goa in the last 1 year. Right. Which means that high spenders. You also raised a question somewhere about how people spend. Just look at the people where we need to, countries where we need to invest. Australia, a normal Australian spends about 3,200 US dollars on any trip outside of Australia, compared to a British who spends about 777 US dollars, compared to a person from the United States which spends about $1,400, compared to, say, Japan, which spends about $1,200. So whom do you want to get into the country? And we have always been focused very much on the leisure tourists. Can we also use, and we are working towards it, and you will see the results soon, because in the Great Indian Travel Bazaar in Jaipur on the 4th, we are launching this. India has become a member of ICA, which is the highest international body which measures the amount of international events and the corporate travelers that you have been able to get to India. And I'm very happy to say that we must focus not so much on numbers, because when you focus on numbers, you are in a rat race. And sorry, we are not in a rat race. We are looking at numbers, sure, but we also want to look at the mass affluent and the luxury category to get those people, because they stay longer. They are more serious travelers, they are more dedicated people, and the whole of Europe and the Western world is also very much interested in our luxury trains. The states run a lot of luxury trains. I can see Assam here, so I can also say they have a Central Vista Dome, which goes to one of their hill stations, right? So can we improve the experience around these trains? And only day before I was in Srinagar, in Jammu, I am Jammu, a Niti state workshop, and you see the Jammu Tawi is the only train in the world which runs from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So I gave them an idea, can we convert this route, because it doesn't run every day, can we use this route to set up a luxury train, not a very largish one, say only about 100 seats, and take them from Jammu and Kashmir right to Kanyakumari on an extravagant kind of a extravaganza, an exotic tour where you cover the whole of India. I'm telling you this, why? Because I've myself undertaken a journey like that from St. Francisco to Yellowstone National Park, Yosemite, on a bus, of course, but traversing through 8 states. Wow. And it was magic for me to be able to do that in the shortest possible time. So why can't those kind of curated itineraries be created for India where people will look forward to doing them, something exotic and looking at the up-end traveler, because there's too much of overcrowding anyways which is happening. So can we do these rare, exclusive product? I will give you one example and finish. I know we might be exceeding time, but I know it's only lunchtime and there's always space
yes,
for
food
for thought before food for the tummy. So I know I'm overextending. But one thought that while we are doing all the tangible stuff of creating hotels, roads, flights, airports, destinations, one thing that we are not focusing on, which the global world is doing and where we have the acumen, because right from the age of artificial intelligence, people have predicted that we will be ushering in an age of imagination. And we are today right in 20 years of the culture creative economy. Taylor Swift, the National Tourism Board of Singapore, entered into a contract with Taylor Swift, which debars her. Intellectual property right contract, which debars her from performing anywhere in the Southeast Asian or the Asian continent till 2027. They have not spent a penny. She goes and performs every year, and we know what a musical concert can do. No spending on destination, sir. Just a contract, Angrezi language written on paper, doesn't even take 5 rupees on a sarkari daftar, nothing. And that debars her. So you are raising the bar of way you are doing competition today. And I think we must look at creating IPs for the country as tourism products, which is very, very important, because if we don't do it, we will have huge amount of competition in the world. Today, there are one companies I don't want to name. They have the A&R, which is the artist repositories of all the possible artists in the country, including Indian artists. How will you get musical concerts in your country, despite the fact that tomorrow you might have the best of stadiums, best of convention centers, if the A&R doesn't permit them to come to your country? I think that is food for thought. I know my thoughts might just be very far advanced of the time, but I think the global template of how tourism has to be done, the loyalty points, you know, the private sector is doing it. The loyalty points, the Tata Neu that has come up, all these things need to get adopted. And while we talk of marketing, data, and tech, we must not forget the creation or the co-curation with the OTAs, with the public sector, with the sporting, with the adventure sports people, with anything that you see, because intangible, the fair, festival, events category has more power today to drive your travel and tourism than even your tangible. So I think the focus should go there. We are so overawed by technology that we miss this important thing which is happening on the sideline. I think it is very, very important. I am just doing my duty as a government official to draw everybody's attention that this is absolutely mandatory, and we are already late. We need to begin ASAP. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Let's give her a really warm round of applause. She spoke with such passion and such clarity. Mugdha Sinha, once more, let's give her a warm round of applause.